Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator from Jefferson and Chairwoman yield?
Well, Senator yields. Senator yields.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm sorry, what?
I said happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.
All right. I wasn't able to, I don't sit on education or finance, so if I could just ask a couple questions for my own edification. First off, I know it's labeled as a scholarship, but it's a voucher to the extent that it can be used for non-public schools, whether it's homeschool, private school, or public charter school, correct?
Okay, so I'm not sure if that makes it a voucher or not. It is a account that would be open in that student's name that the treasurer would oversee, and those funds can be used to provide the educational needs of that student wherever they find that need to be met.
What's the amount of the voucher?
It is 100% of the state aid average, which based on last year's calculations, and we're always a year behind when it comes to funding, it is going to be $4,600.
Is that for the year or for a semester?
That is for the year. That is the full amount that would be put into the Hope Scholarship account yearly, but that amount can change because it's 100% of the state aid average, and the state aid average, when we fund the schools, can change year to year. And
is there any cap? Let's say you have a family you have 3 children. Can each child get the maximum $4,600, or is it capped to only 2 children or 1 child of a family?
There is no limit on the number of children in a family, but there is, of course, the eligibility limits. So you have to be an eligible student. So those 3, children would have to be eligible to be enrolled in kindergarten, or they will have had to be in the public school the year before, or they will have to be enrolled and attending a public school for a minimum of 45 days before they could apply.
And that voucher of around $4,600 that's public funds, correct?
That is the state portion of funding that we do for students. And of course, there are some who would argue it is a portion of that family's state tax dollars.
Okay. It's public funding, isn't it?
It is the funding that we set aside to educate our kids in West Virginia, yes.
Exactly. It's the $4,600 that would have gone to the public school that now follows to whatever school that the child goes to in order to get that voucher, correct?
Well, whatever educational choice they decide is best for their kids, yes.
Sure. I just want to make sure that we're all clear. I mean, we all pay taxes, but that $4,600 is not from the family itself. It's from everyone from the state of West Virginia, right?
It is the state aid portion that we provide per student.
Sure. And that state aid, that state money, those public dollars can go to, say, a private school that discriminates on the basis of sexual orientation, correct?
I do not know that any of those private schools exist, but yes, it can be used at a qualified private school. There are qualifications in the bill for those schools. We call them education service providers that they must meet, and they must be approved. It is going to have to be an approved education service provider that the treasurer has that's going to be made available to the public. There will be a list.
Sure, I'm aware of at least one private school in this state that, as far as the criteria for students, one of those criteria is sexual orientation. So I think you've answered the question. That's public money that will go to potentially a school that discriminates on the basis of sexual orientation, correct?
Potentially, if they fit the criteria and they're approved.
So I'm right.
Yes, if they fit the criteria and they're approved.
And when you're talking criteria, you're talking about the students, right?
There is criteria for education service providers in the bill.
Well, there's no criteria with regard to sexual orientation, is there?
The funds
for the ESPs.
The funds follow the student. So the money and the accounts are open in the student's name for the student's educational needs.
All right. I thank you for your time.
No problem.
Madam Chairwoman.